Hello everyone and welcome to another album review. Today we'll be going over Obituary's new self-titled album. Obituary has been pumping out death metal music for 20 plus years. I think this is their 10th album, I believe, and this one is just as amazing as all the rest. I've come to find that with a lot of death metal albums, or death metal bands I should say, from back in the early 90s, they kind of lost their steam. They don't really add anything new to the table that would make a listener say, "Oh, wow, okay, so this is really interesting." With Obituary, every single release that they've come out with over the 20 plus years has been interesting. It's always had something new to it. This new album had, I guess you would call it death and roll, like a rock and roll with a death metal vocal over the top of it. I found that track to be really interesting. It was also really good. Also found that a lot of the tracks had these interesting guitar solos on them that were very melodic and very well thought out. I come to find with a lot of death metal releases that the guitar solos are just so fast and there's really no sense to them. They don't really add anything to the overall quality of the song, which is not the case with Obituary. It seems as though all the guitar solos are really well written, and they actually add something. Along with their segues. I also found that in the breakdowns and the segues in between choruses and other such things is that there's this overall kind of classical kind of songwriting, I guess you could say, to the segues, which was really, really interesting. I'm a huge fan of classical music, as you all know, and I really enjoyed that kind of symphonic guitar approach. It really added, an extra layer to the overall songs. I also kind of wanted to point out the guitar player really has this interesting way of writing riffs and an interesting way of kind of breaking down songs. You get these ultra fast and heavy thrashy guitar riffs, and then all of a sudden they're segueing into this very, very brutal doom metal almost breakdown. Which to add to that, this singer, he hasn't really changed in 20 plus years. Not to say that it's a bad thing. It's just to say his voice is still as great as it was 20 plus years ago. I mean, if you listen to Cause of Death, the singing is just amazing. It's very, very brutal, and I also like, as far as the vocalist goes, his vocals are always very pronounced. You can kind of always know what he is saying. Whereas for a lot of death metal vocalists, you can't understand anything they're saying, but that's what I really love about them. You can always pick apart the lyrics. You can always understand what he's saying. And the thing harkening back to with this album is I really enjoy that, 20 plus years later, the vocals are still the same as far as you get exactly what you know from Obituary, which is totally different with the last Carcass release, which I really did not enjoy at all. But Obituary, with this release has totally kind of reinstated my love for old school death metal. I really also enjoyed the production on this album. It still had a little bit of that garage sludginess, which 90s death metal, that's what you come to love, that kind of garage rock feel. But it's also produced well enough that each individual instrument stands out. I really enjoy, and I always say this on all my album reviews, but the best bands are the ones where you could pick out the bass playing, and the bass playing comes above the mix and you can kind of pick it out. And a lot of bands don't seem to do that, especially within the metal community. For some reason the bass always gets lost, so I always tend to pick out bands and albums where the bass is a lot higher in the mix and you can kind of understand what is going on there. I also really enjoyed the fact that they took the chance to kind of, and I love this about every Obituary album, but the interesting thing about it is they know exactly what we love. So they take all those individual parts and they try and rework it and make something new out of it while still remaining fresh and pioneering something different in the same process, which you know, for a band nowadays, 20 plus years, you know, to be an old dog and know new tricks is actually quite amazing. So if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment box below. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Bye-bye.